Ann Bocock, and welcome to our virtual edition of Between the Covers. My guest is New York Times, USA Today, and Wall Street Journal best-selling author of historical fiction, Laura Comoy. You're going to see her love of history as it shines through her novels. She actually taught history at the U.S. Naval Academy before transitioning full-time into writing. Her books manage to highlight strong women in history. We're going to talk about this today, starting with the French Revolution. The book is Ribbons of Scarlet. Laura Comoy, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be here.
I am so glad to see you again. First of all, we're going to talk about some pretty incredible women in history on two different continents. So we're going to start with Ribbons of Scarlet in France. The story of the French Revolution, and when I read it, it's really a story of the power of women, the power of that women can affect change. And this is clever because it's done with 6 different writers. Each of you took a different woman. Explain to me how this started. How did it come about?
Stephanie Dray and I have written several novels together, America's First Daughter and My Dear Hamilton. And one of the things that we found in writing those novels is that there were so many connections between the American Revolution and the French Revolution. And so that was one thread that led us to write Ribbons of Scarlet. As we considered doing that, we realized how much bigger and more complicated the French Revolution was than the American Revolution. And we couldn't think of just one or even 2 historical figures that would allow us to really cover the breadth of it, the length of it, and the variety of viewpoints and experiences within it. And so that led us to doing a novel with 6 authors. It's written exactly as a regular novel would be from the beginning of the French Revolution until the end. And we decided to pick 7 real life historical figures to tell the story.
I want to know who decided on whom. Was there a coin toss?
Well, I mean, we all sort of were interested in, for example, Charlotte Corday, who is our convent-trained assassin. But really, the way it worked was we all sort of gravitated pretty naturally towards one or 2 of the characters. And so there wasn't as much disagreement as we thought there might be about who got to write which lady.
You each have a different person. They each have a different viewpoint, and they act differently during this revolution. You wrote the last chapter, which sort of has to, you have the responsibility not only of your character, but really tying everything up so that it makes sense.
Yeah.
I'd like for you to set the stage for who your character is, and may I impose upon you to read a little bit of that for us?
Yes, absolutely. So Emily de Saint Amaranth Sartine was the daughter of a courtesan. She and her mother ran the most elite gambling parlor in pre-revolutionary France. And she was known as not just a great beauty, but as the most beautiful girl in Paris. And that becomes a real double-edged sword for her during the French Revolution. And so here's a section from Emily's part of the novel. The executioner came for me. I didn't make him grab me, but rose on my own and held my head high. The breeze caught the edge of my red shawl, sending it fluttering off one shoulder as I climbed the steps. And then I stood upon the platform and looked out at the faces surrounding me. My beloved husband, who managed a heartbreaking smile as if he wished to offer strength until the very last. My dear friend, who had made her way boldly to the guillotine. And then there were the thousands of strangers besides. How would I be remembered by them? Or would I be remembered at all? For memories were soon all that was to be left of me, and the sole final hope I had was that somehow the memory of me would matter. And that idea of memory and of the importance of remembering these ladies was another thing that drew us to writing Ribbons of Scarlet, because we felt that these stories were all unforgotten contributions to an event in which the contributions of women were centrally important. And so Emily embodies that moment there.